as we mentioned earlier in the show, Andrew Bates, a senior official with Joe Biden's campaign, slammed CBS reporter Catherine Heritage for literally doing her job. She reported that, get this, that the director of national intelligence sent a notification to Congress declassifying a list of former Obama officials who had made requests that might have identified and possibly led to the prosecution of Michael Flynn. One of those names on the list is Joe Biden's. And in the tweet, which he has now deleted, Bates says this about Heritage. She is a partisan right-wing hack who is a regular conduit for conservative media manipulation ploys because she agrees to publicize things before contacting the target to ask for contact. And while Joe Biden hasn't responded to the attack earlier this month, he did write an op-ed on Freedom of the Press stating that, quote, attacking the press and attempting to intimidate independent media is a standard part of the authoritarian playbook. Efforts to undermine public confidence in the integrity of fact-based reporting violate our core values and threaten our very system of government. Of course, then he was talking about President Trump when he wrote that op-ed, but he seems to have fallen silent when it involves one of his own team members. Well, here to talk about this, how this could impact his campaign, is our company. Republican strategist and former Trump communications advisor Jason Miller, and Democratic strategist and former Pete for America political advisor Jessica DeLoach. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
All right. There is, and Jason and I both know this well, the president from time to time gets a little salty with the press, shall we say. And when he does, everyone in the press calls him out and says it's inappropriate. He shouldn't use terms like that. That's fair, and they have a right to do that. But it was interesting to me yesterday when you have the senior member of the Biden team really go after the CBS reporter for literally posting a list of who had been unmasked Michael Flynn. He goes off on her, says all the things that I just read to you, and it's almost like crickets from the media and from the left condemning this. In fact, Joe Biden has said nothing about it, and no one at CBS seems to have really come to her defense. And so, Jessica, let me start with you. I get what the president has said, and I get what people on the right have said, and that's a discussion we can have. But I think the thing that I'm trying to point out here is I don't think the left cared as much when it was one of their own that did it.
Well, I think that it's also important to make the distinction that there's a big difference between the president of the United States doing it, especially while he's holding that post, and some campaign staff are doing it. Now, I understand that this young man is the head of rapid response for the campaign, and sometimes rapid response moves too rapidly. I would not advise Vice President Biden to apologize on his behalf, the same way I wouldn't tell CBS that they needed to rush to the defense of their employee, because CBS as a network doesn't have to operate that way. They can be above and apart from all of the criticism. The campaign itself, though, clearly has indicated that they need to get a tighter rein on the way their employees behave, because you cannot be a candidate who calls for decency and in a certain way for the press to be treated and then have a campaign staffer do that. It's just a bad look. And I guarantee you, Joe Biden did not know that young man was going to tweet that.
Oh, I give you that. But I think it's interesting the other day when the president had an exchange with a CBS reporter in the Rose Garden, you had all of these other journalists that came to her defense and saying that it was inappropriate the way the president and her went back and forth. And yet I really didn't see that this time. Jason, I assume you're going to agree that there's a bit of a double standard here?
Just a little bit. I think there are a couple of things here. Number one, Andrew, it's just the way that you're going about it is just totally wrong. The press corps is going to think that you're a big jerk, and that's going to hurt your ability to talk with them later. Now, again, I'm talking to someone who has rumbled with members of the press corps. There are plenty of members of the press corps who don't want to talk to me anymore because I've been too mean to him in defending President Trump or pushing back. But you always want to try to keep your cool, and he lost that here. But I think there are a couple of buried leads, Sean and Lindsay and Jess, and that's the fact that, number one, why is this young staffer the one who's doing the pushback? Where's Simone Sanders? Where's their surrogate program? Where are all these other bigger heavyweights that you would think that might be coming in to do it? So in fact, it just doesn't look like the Biden operation has a real team. The other buried lead, they didn't say that it wasn't true. They never came out and outright denied this. This is still a massive problem. I know we're not going to see it on MSNBC tonight or MSDNC when Biden is on with, I believe, Lawrence O'Donnell. They won't ask him any tough questions. Biden has not yet said that this is untrue. This is a problem.
And neither is actually the staffer. He just deleted the tweet.
That's how people deal with stuff these days. Just delete it. Now it's all gone. All right, well, let's talk about something we've been talking about all show, the Michael Flynn case. We keep seeing more and more unravel. And now the Judge Emmett Sullivan asking for a friend of the court to come help him out. Jessica, how big of an issue is this actually going to be for campaigns moving forward? Do voters care about it? And how much are both sides going to make this an issue to talk about? Or are they going to kind of just try to sweep it under the rug, specifically the left?
Sure. I don't think that this is going to be a very big issue at all. I mean, that's just my read on it as of today. And it's because people are tired of hearing about this. It is boring and nothing is going to come of it. You can either be dissatisfied with the way all of this has been handled, or you can think that justice hasn't been served. You can also think that it's been blown out of proportion. But this is not the thing that is front and center of most voters' minds. They're too busy thinking about their paycheck. They're thinking about the economy. This is one of those dead horses that continues to be beaten. It's over. There's nothing left to talk about. And also, I do think voters are fatigued by having to hear about Obama this, Obama that, whatever Obamagate is, which still has not been explained. So there's fatigue. People care about other things. They care about their bottom line. This doesn't qualify.
All right. I get your point. They might be fatigued, and people definitely do care about their wallets right now, what's happening with COVID-19. But Jason, I think that we are seeing more and more stuff coming out, and this isn't old news. It's new news. We're finding these reports showing that there's more information out there. And I do wonder, if this wasn't in an election year, would it be even bigger, and maybe would both sides would care about it more? Or to Jessica's point, are people just sick of it and no one's going to care come November?
This is going to be a huge issue between now and November for a couple of reasons. Maybe not the ones that jump to the front of the line, but these are the real reasons. Number one, it's a big base motivator for President Trump. This is something that's in the midst of a pandemic, when folks are sitting around, maybe they've lost their job, or maybe they're temporarily sidelined. They see this and it makes them fighting mad, ready to go dive back in and take on Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrats. So it's a huge motivational tool from that aspect. The other thing, too, is Joe Biden has snatched defeat from the jaws of victory as only Joe Biden can, just as we saw that he did with Tara Reade when he had it answered and put away, and then he somehow snatched defeat. Here, Joe Biden is lying to George Stephanopoulos about what he knew and when. Now this is going to continue to dog Joe Biden. He's not going to be able to get away from it. They're going to keep just pulling the threads from the sweater here until they get all the way to Hunter and Joe Biden. And ultimately, it reminds folks, Joe Biden's been around for 40 or 50 years. He's part of the establishment, part of the problem. He's not someone we want in the White House. That's why it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think, Jet, you're both right. It's going to be a big deal to those who it's a big deal to, but not to anyone else.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming on. Always appreciate your insights and you being part of our company.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, coming up, we're going to lighten the mood just a little bit with a viral video.